Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you want to take your shooting experience to the next level, then check out cole-tac gear for 100% made in America products. Cole-tac manufactures specialty gear designed for long-range shooting, hunting, and other tactical applications. From their support bags, suppressor covers, shooting mats, and a whole lot more, cole-tac is creating tough, durable, and innovative gear for both civilian and professional markets. Go to cole-tac.com to see all that they have to offer. That's cole-tac.com. If you are looking to get a new rifle or build your own, look no further than Kelbley's. Kelbley's actions and rifles have a higher level of accuracy and hold 92 world records set on either one of their rifles or rifle actions. Whether you're looking for an ultralight mountain rifle or wanting to compete in precision rifle shooting, Kelbley's has you covered. Go to kelbley.com to find out more or give them a call as their customer service is the best. That's KELBLY.com. Kelbley's. If you're looking to take your hunting to another level, there's no better way to do it than by subscribing to onX Hunt. If you want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, onX is the #1 GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust onX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. If you want to know more about onX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt or download their app today for a free trial. If you are wanting to become more accurate and deadly with your shooting, one of the best things you can do is upgrade your trigger with a Timney. Timney triggers are 100% made in America and have been since their founding, providing a crisp, reliable, and repeatable trigger break every time. I'll be shooting Timney triggers in my guns this year, and I hope you'll join me in shooting the world's finest trigger. Go to timneytriggers.com to get yours today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack. Today, I am joined by probably one of the most fun guests I've had on the podcast over the years, and that is Mr. Paul Ronto from onX. He is the man of mystery. I would say international, but at least he's North American man of mystery. He does all sorts of cool things. He knows all about strategy, applications, and a whole lot more when it comes to onX and draw odds and all the stuff we're going to be talking about. But also, he runs another business called Type 2 Life, where he takes adults who have a need for community and brings them together and goes on adventures and builds relationships. And it's super cool. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about jobs. We're going to talk about Man, it's going to be a variety show tonight. But without further ado, Mr. Paul Ronto, what's up, brother?
Hey, man. Glad to be back. This is awesome. I don't know how many times I've been on the show, but I'm pumped to be back. Getting a text message from you saying let's do another episode makes me happy. So, yeah, I'm pumped to be back. And small correction, it's called Type 3 Life.
Oh, dang it.
Not Type 2 Life. But that's okay. It's close enough. But you nailed it otherwise. Yeah, we're building community for men who have lost their community. So, it's awesome. And we do that through adventure.
Yeah.
Out in the wild.
Yes. Type 3 Life, because Type 3 Life is the adventurous type, right?
Yeah, totally. It's like Type 3 fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the hard fun that by the end, when you get back to your truck, you're like connected with that buddy because it was hairy there for a while. It got Western and maybe you thought you weren't going to make it out. And those are the trips that really bond you with other guys and make you feel connected. And so we don't push guys that hard, but we push them into challenges and we get them out of their comfort zone. That's the whole idea behind it. And yeah, we got some cool trips coming up this year. We're actually doing a 3-day precision rifle course here in May.
Sweet.
And we have a Pacific Northwest sea kayaking trip, like a 6 or 7 day sea kayaking trip in September. We were just in Nicaragua doing a surf camp. So we do all sorts of varied, wild stuff. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's epic. How do people get connected real quick? Website?
Yeah, type3life.com.
Bam.
Check it out.
Type3life.com. Love it. I highly recommend it if you're a person looking for community and connection. That's a great resource. So,
Brad, thanks for the plug,
dude. Yeah, just people helping people. It's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, brother. So it's the end of April when we are recording this, and we are in application season and also soon to be draw season, right? So,
yep.
Has any states released any draws yet?
Colorado's draws are out for sheep and goat. Trying to think. There's a bunch that have already kind of trickled out. We're past quite a few, obviously. We still got deadlines to come. I mean, we got Nevada coming up next week on the 7th. We've got Oregon on the 15th. There was actually a couple draw deadlines today. Idaho, bighorn sheep, moose and goat was today. Wyoming, sheep, moose and goat, and bison was today. So yeah, there's still a bunch out there. There's still some to come. Montana antelope, Montana sheep, moose, goat, bison. That's coming up next week. California, Arizona, Idaho, Utah. So there's still a bunch to get in on, but some big ones like Colorado, all species, Montana, deer and elk, those have passed. New Mexico, Arizona, Wyoming, non-resident elk, those have all passed. So if you haven't applied, you've missed a couple, but there's still plenty of opportunity left out west to get a tag and come out and do a cool hunt.
Sweet. And we're going to release this podcast on Monday, May 5th. So
Sweet, perfect.
Cinco de Mayo. So we're going to make this time sensitive on the release of the episode. So, brother, having a plan. One of the things that really resonated with me the last time you were on the podcast, which that was a phenomenal episode, received a lot of awesome feedback. I'm actually going to look this up because I want to highly encourage anyone who listens to this show or hasn't listened to the show yet, needs to go back and listen to that podcast, because that was very inspiring and I loved it. People loved it. I'm on my computer. I'm typing it in real quick. Here we go. Gotta search Mr. Ronto. That was episode 267. Developing a strategy for hunting out west. We were talking about that. I was talking about putting in for points in Utah and Wyoming, and you said something that was very poignant and really made a difference in my life last time, and that was, if you're going to put in for points, you might as well just put in for the draw. And then, if you have low odds, okay, then you got your point. You don't worry about it. But maybe you have a chance of drawing, and that is something that could happen year after year. And so I really was like, I chewed on that for a while. This year I decided to actually put in for hunts rather than just selecting points and moving on. Really interesting. You are all about a strategy, and a strategy paid off for you this year because you drew what tag?
Yeah, I drew a Colorado mountain goat tag. So my first mountain goat tag, my first like big goat, sheep, moose tag in the States. And yeah, I mean, it's all about having a strategy. You can go into a blind and get lucky, but if you have a strategy, it really helps. And yeah, I mean, putting in for points is nonsense. Put in for hunts and get points if you don't get those hunts. But just put in for points, unless you really know you can't go do that hunt. But if you get an awesome tag, make it happen. I mean, like, you'll figure out a way. You can always return the tag too, and a lot of states will refund you points or money or both. But yeah, I mean, just putting in for points is a poor strategy. You're going to be sitting a long time, and a lot of states have random draws. They're not all preference draws anymore. Colorado in 2028 is changing the whole system. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but that's going to go to 50% of the tags go to the preference point hunters, and 50% of the tags go to a random. And so, like, even on these hunts that take 20 points, you could in the future get one with 0 points or 1 point or 5. You don't have to wait 20 years to get a unit 1 elk tag in Colorado. Come 2028, those things are changing. And Wyoming does this too. They've got a random draw. A lot of states have a second pass random draw. So I say put in for the hunts, not the points.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting on a bunch of points, put in for hunts too. All these things are changing. There's no guarantees in the future that your points are going to be worth much. States we've seen can change the draw system. States can go like Colorado from preference point, where 90% of the tags go to preference point, to 50% of the tags. So those preference point holders after 2028 are going to see some point creep. And so if you're sitting there holding 20, 25 points right now, go out and hunt, burn those points, get back in the pool. You can draw again as a random. It's too long. You never know what's going to happen in your life. You could get hurt. You could get sick. You could lose your job and run out of money. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen. And if you can pull it off today, I say go hunt today rather than planning on hunting in 20 years.
Yep. And that happened to me in the state of Washington before I moved to Texas. I put in for a quality elk hunt, and which typically takes 20 points to draw the unit that I put in. And I freaking got it with, I think, 4 points. You know,
Yeah.
might get a little hate for that, a little shade, but I was like, heck yeah, dude! Before I left and picked a non or a resident license in a different state, I was able to still hunt on my resident license, and
Yeah.
like that was a
Yeah. I mean,
big time draw for me.
you just got to put in for the hunts. I mean, this goat hunt too. I mean, people could wait 20 years and finally put in for the hunts. I think I had 11 points and I'd put in for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years when I was broke in my 20s, and wasn't paying the $50 point fee. And so I wasn't getting points. So I probably waited 16 years for this tag, but I had 11 points when I got it. So like I wasn't the highest point holder. There were people with 20, 25 points. And so, like draws like that, understanding the draw, how the draw works for each state and each species, like Colorado today for deer, elk, and antelope is a preference point draw. But for moose, sheep, and goat, it's basically a weighted preference point that really acts more like a bonus draw. And so once you have your 3 weighted preference points, you're in the draw, and you can get one with 3 points. And so I got it with 11, but people get it with less. And so, yeah, again, put in for the hunts.
Yeah. Oh man, I apologize right there. That was unexpected. It has also applied for me this year where I really want to go to Alaska. I really want to hunt moose. It's like this bucket list that I was supposed to do when I turned 40, but COVID happened and the whole world, everything changed. And then I'm like, well, where else can I hunt moose at in the lower 48 that is a potential draw? And so my neighbor down here in Texas, he's a wounded veteran, and he's already killed 2 bull moose in the state of Maine. And I was like, dude, how are you drawing moose tags that much? Turns out Maine reserves, I think, 20% of their moose tags for disabled veterans. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I started diving into that. Moose tags or moose points in Maine, super cheap. And
Yeah.
you can buy as many, like they do it as a random lottery. It's like buying lottery tickets. You can buy groups of numbers, all this, super cheap. And then if you don't draw it, you get a point, and then that doubles it for the next year. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start putting in for Maine moose because I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to make it to Alaska. I want to, but in the meantime, I might as well work my magic towards a Maine moose as well.
For sure. Yeah, Maine's an option. Idaho has decent draw odds for non-residents on moose. I mean, I think there's a 12 or 15% draw odds on a couple of units, which is amazing for moose in lower 48. Colorado doesn't have great draw odds, but once you get 3 points, it's a random draw basically. So you could get it with 3 points or 4 points. So, there's opportunity out there, but you got to find them. You got to understand the point systems. You're probably not getting in on states where it's a straight preference point system and there's people holding 25 points or 30 points. But there's a lot of opportunity out there. And there's Alaska as a fallback if you ever get a big bonus check or something from the school you work at. I doubt it's going to happen, but you never know. Department of Education just starts doling out some money. I mean, it's over the counter up in Alaska. You don't need a guide for moose like you do with sheep. And so you can go up there and do a DIY fly-in hunt. And now they're not cheap, but they're also not 20 grand like a guided hunt. I mean, I think you can get away 5-6 grand if you do it on the super cheap side.
Yeah, I think it comes out to be like 10 to 12,000 by the time you're done with flights.
And you get home and you get flights and all that. But maybe you go up there with a buddy that's willing to drive up there and drive your meat home. Like there's ways to cut corners. I'm just saying it's an option if you don't want to wait 20 years for a hunt down here in the lower 48. But again, there's options like Idaho, Maine, Colorado. Like you can get a tag.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a little effort, it takes a strategy, and it will take some years, but then you can get lucky. So as long as you're putting in for hunts, you have a chance. If you're just putting in for points, you have zero chance.
So true. All right. So when it came to strategy for hunts and applications and all this stuff, what advice do you have beyond just always put in for the hunt that you want?
Number one advice is put in for as many things as you can afford. Some states like Colorado only charge you an application fee. They don't charge you the price of the whole tag. Other states charge you the price of the whole tag. So it can get spendy if you're applying to a bunch of states out west, especially those states that charge you for the whole tag up front. mean, you could be in 10 grand just in 1 or 2 states, depending on the animals you're putting in for. But I would say, depending on your budget, put in for as many species as you can put in as many states as you can put in. So if you're playing the game and you can put in New Mexico and Arizona and Wyoming and Montana and Colorado, the odds are you're going to draw a tag somewhere. Colorado got a lot of great opportunity for elk hunting. There's a lot of 0-point tags. There's OTC still in Colorado. So the rifle hunts for non-residents. So like if you just want to come out west and do an elk hunt, there's great second and third season rifle OTC tags still. I've hunted OTC for 20 years. I draw tags too, but there's great opportunity on the OTC tag. Colorado's one of the states that still has it. There's not a lot of those floating around left anymore. But there's other states that don't take a lot of points. You can go on a cow hunt, which gives you the whole elk experience too, without waiting 10, 20 years. And, maybe just don't put in for, or don't be gunning for those units that are the big trophy units. Unit 1 in Colorado, Northwest Corner takes 30 points for a non-resident. Like, I don't know. I don't have the patience for that. I'm happy with a 280 to 350 class bull. I'm probably not going to shoot a 400 class bull in my life. And so that's not what I'm gunning for. I'm gunning for the experience. I want to get out there with my buddies. I want to bring some meat home. It'd be cool to bring some antlers home, but ultimately I say, put in for as much as you can afford. If you really want to get a tag out west, you'll hit on something sooner or later.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's really good advice. Really good advice. I love that. You and I were talking before we hit record, and I want to bring this up on the show, is with the prices of life getting so expensive right now, dude, inflation, I can't wait for it to a new monetary system reset for us to reevaluate how we value items and life and money and all that. But we were talking about living here in Texas and the price of beef. So I just bought a half a cow. That half a cow, after processing and all that, is going to be $2,900.
Yeah,
for a half a cow, right? And yes, cows are big, and I love a good ribeye and all that stuff. But ultimately, I would also love to use that money and go kill a big game animal and then bring that meat home and just eat that as well. And we talked about, Texas being an opportunity. A lot of people hate on high fence hunting, but it's a lot cheaper to hunt in Texas than it is to go to Africa or doing stuff like this. But you can go hunt a bison in Texas for like $2,000.
Yeah,
and
you can do Colorado too. I think you can do a cow hunt with bison for $1,200. Now you have an expense after that. You've got to process the meat, but if you're willing to do it yourself, that comes out to be pretty low. If you're taking it to a butcher and splitting it with a buddy or two, like I kind of keep the bison hunt in my back pocket. I know it's kind of cheesy. It's not really a hunt. You're going to a game ranch. The farmer's probably going to drive you up to this thing at 100 yards. You'll hop out of the Jeep or whatever. But like you get the skull, you get the hide, you still get to go hunt the thing and help bring it back to the barn. I mean, if there was ever a year, granted, the last 20 years, I haven't gotten tag soup ever, which is great. I've been super lucky. And Colorado has over-the-counter stuff. But the day that it comes that I don't get a tag, that bison hunt's looking pretty dang awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's options. You can go to Texas. There's some high fence stuff. If you're willing to travel, I mean, New Zealand has awesome hunting. The plane ride down there is long and expensive, but once you get down there, there's not really any expenses as far as tags go. It's all open season. Africa has a bunch of stuff. So there's options, but all those things get pretty wild to say I'm going to go to Africa to hunt when you could just do it in your backyard. I mean, these bison hunts, a hog hunt down in Texas, like there's ways to get out on the years you don't get tags.
Yeah, and that's one of the big keys is if you still want to hunt and there are opportunities, and then also deciding, do you want that much meat? Like how much meat do you need to put in your freezer to feed your family for this coming year? Right.
Yeah, bison's a lot. I mean, you're going to want to go in with a buddy or two, I think. They're pretty big animals, especially if you go all in and get a big bull. I mean, they're 2,000 pounds.
Yeah,
so
dude,
it's
epic.
A huge animal.
Epic. I'm getting excited thinking about that. I love bison meat. Have you had a whole lot of it?
Yeah, I love it too. I actually grew up, one of my best friends growing up, his dad had like a, gentleman farmer's bison ranch, and they had like 100 head, and So we always had bison meat growing up, and it's awesome. I love it.
Man, that's sweet. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your plan for this goat hunt, sheep hunt. What is it?
Goat, yeah, mountain goat.
Okay, so you've been eyeballing a specific unit and been putting in for points year after year, and you're like, that's the unit I want to hunt, or were you any unit that holds goats you're willing to put in for? What was your strategy for that? And then are you doing DIY? Are you going to use an outfitter to support you on this? What's your plan? How'd you go about it?
Yeah, totally. So, what I want to get across to everyone is just have a strategy. Having any kind of strategy, looking at draw odds, looking at harvest rates, this is all going to help you understand both the opportunity out there, but also the draw system. Just by reading all this stuff, you're going to eventually find how the draw works. You're going to find the regs around how different species have different points in different states. And so, my first thing I want to hit home is having a strategy is much better than just randomly putting in for units because you think that's a good unit. Like it's close to home or it's by a place I want to travel to. Like none of that really makes a ton of sense. What's more important is looking at draw odds, looking at harvest rates, looking at the herd health of the animals. Are tags going up? Are tags being cut? Was there winter kill? So this takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of work. We've got some tools at Onyx that really help with this. We've got our Hunt Research Tools, which is our draw odds tool, tells you a lot of this. We're partners with Hunt and Fool. We're partners with Hunt Reminder. So there's a whole bunch of information in there that you can start working on. But for this goat hunt, I mean, ultimately for me, I was looking at draw odds and weeding down to the units with the highest draw odds. I didn't really care what unit I went to. If there are tags in a unit, that means there's goats that I'm allowed to go hunt. And so I was looking more specifically at what units would have the best draws. Now, when you're talking about things like goat and sheep is even harder, but goat, like the best units maybe have 5 or 6% draw opportunity. And so they're really low. Even with 10 or 11 points, I think I had like a 6 or 7% chance at the unit I ended up getting. But there's more to it than just the draw odds. I want to also look and see which units have the most tags. So the way Colorado does it is kind of unique. Instead of doing a preference point hunt where the people with the most points get the tags, they have this weighted preference point. And so they have this really convoluted system where you get a draw number, then they take that draw number and they invert it. And then they take randomly assigned digits and change the number. So like a 1 might change to a 6 and a 3 might change to a 2. And then that finally gets you your final draw number. And then they divide that by the number of bonus points you have. So it's a 6-digit number, I think, or an 8-digit number, and they divide it by the number of points. And then the people with the lowest application number are the people that get the tags. And so if you put in for something that has, let's say, the best odds, let's say it's 10%, but there's only one tag, you have to be the one person that has the lowest draw odds or the lowest draw number. But if you put in for a unit that has 20 tags, you just have to be the hunter that has 1 out of 20 of the lowest draw numbers. And so, there's different strategies here. Do you want to put in for the highest draw odds, or do you want to put in for maybe slightly lower draw odds, but there's a lot more tags? So potentially you have a better odds of being one of the lower numbers. But it is also kind of random because the numbers are randomly assigned and they divided by your number of points. So I got lucky, but there's some strategy there. Like I didn't just put in for the unit with the best odds or the unit with the most tags. I kind of played that and I looked at harvest rates and I looked at access. And the unit I'm going to is a wilderness area. A lot of people get scared away from wilderness hunts because you can't take any mechanized vehicle in there. You can't get in on an ATV or a dirt bike or even take an elk cart. It's all on foot. You can take pack animals, but it's pack animals are on foot. And so my experience has been I hunt elk in a wilderness unit too for the same reason. My experience has been less people put in for these tags because they're really hard to get in and out of. Now, my elk hunt, I take llamas with me, and we go way back 19 miles into the wilderness, and so we're way far away from people. This hunt, I'll probably do it on my back. I'm going to walk in, but I've already talked to my llama guy. You've made it when you have a llama guy. Just want to point that out. I've talked to my llama guy. He's got some llamas, so I may be able to take 2 llamas in with me. But ultimately, yeah, I'm doing it DIY. I'm not doing it outfitted. I've got a good idea of the area. Mountain goats are unique in that they live in a very specific place. They basically all live above 13,000 feet in Colorado. So I just got to get above 13,000 feet. There's not a ton of land that's above 13,000 feet. So once I get up there, I should hopefully be able to find a goat. But there's other tools here too at my disposal. You know, since I've gotten the tag, I've already started looking at harvest reports, and with goat and sheep and moose, you actually have to disclose what drainage you killed this animal in. So you can look back over the last couple of years from the state data and see where goats have been harvested. So that gives you an idea of where people have been hunting. You can also reach out to Hunt and Fool if you've got a Hunt and Fool account and get the previous tag holders that had the tag in the last 3 or 5 years. And so like I've already called a couple of these guys, and you know, with these once in a lifetime or hard to get tags, a lot of times hunters are willing to give you some inside information because they're probably not doing it again. It's not like an elk hunt that you go back every year. You don't want to give up your honey hole. Mm-hmm. But on a goat hunt, I've talked to 2 or 3 guys that had the tag last year and in 2023. And they've already, you know, they've confirmed what I was already thinking. And so like, it's a collaborative process. You know, you might get one of these tags in your life, maybe 2. And so I want to pull out all the stops. And so again, not only during the application is there a strategy, but now that I've got the tag, there's a whole nother strategy that is going to go into my planning before I ever step foot in the unit to go scout. And so, I mean, do your homework is, I guess, the lesson here.
Let me take a step back. I love what you're saying here. Episode 240, I've recorded with you, Paul, all you listeners. We talk about Paul's llama hunt. And he went and killed a black bear, your first black bear on that
black
hunt.
Bear, 2 elk we pulled out that year. Last year we went in and we pulled out 2 more elk, same unit. Man, llamas are red. We shot an elk at 19 miles from the truck. So that's not really doable for people without llamas or pack animals. And we're in a wilderness area, so we didn't see anyone. We harvested some nice bulls, and the llamas carried them out for us. So that's been a pretty unique experience. We're going back in again this year, which is going to be awesome. We got a couple new guys swapping out with some of the old guys. So it'll be 2 fresh guys seeing this unit for the first time. Pretty pumped.
Awesome. And then going back to the draw odds, the strategy and all that. So when you are applying and looking at a hunt, you have to compare more or less 3 things. Draw odds, your odd of drawing the tag, harvest percentage, right? Like, okay, once I get that tag, how high of a percentage is it to actually fill that tag and bring an animal home? And then the other one is access. How accessible is the land for the hunt that I want to go on, or for the tag that I'm drawing or applying for? Is that kind of the 3 main things?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, draw odds are number 1. If you're applying for hunts that you just can't get, let's say it's in a preference point hunt like deer or elk in Colorado, and it takes 20 points and you have 5, you're not going to get that tag. If you're under the break-even point, there's 0% chance of getting the tag. So like on a 20-point tag, if you have 50% chance at 20 points, that means everyone with 19 points or less had 0% chance last year. Anyone at 20 points had 50% chance, and anyone at 21 points or more all got the tag at 100%. And so with preference points, like, it's super important. Bonus odds are a little bit different. That's more of like a raffle, but your draw odds, that's super important. Looking at harvest rate, that's important too, especially for people that like are really focused on wanting to harvest. I don't care as much about harvest rate because I feel like I'm going to work hard and I'm going to go a little bit further and deeper than most hunters. And so I can kind of make my harvest rate happen if I hunt really hard, or at least I like to believe that. Maybe that's not true, but that's important, especially for people that are just like hunting the edges of units or where they can get in easily 1 to 2 miles from trailheads. It's important to know, access. Like, what does the terrain look like? Is it super mountainous and steep? Are you fit enough? Can you go hunt at 13,000 feet in Colorado? Do I have to hike 7 miles to get into somewhere where there might be animals? Or can I road hunt this thing? Is it not a wilderness zone? Can I drive an ATV around? So terrain and access is super important. The amount of public land, if you don't have access to private land, it's really important to know how much public land is in a unit and where that public land is. Is all the public land down on the BLM where the antelope are, but you got an elk tag? That's not going to help you a lot. Or do you have an antelope tag and all the public land is up in the mountains and all the stuff down on the flat plains is all private? So you got to look at the map. You got to go into Onyx. You got to do some terrain analysis. That's super important. And then the other things is like, what does my schedule look like? This is pretty basic, but hunts fall at weird times in the fall, and places like Colorado have set weeks for each hunt. It's not like Montana where you can hunt for 3 months straight and
Right.
kind of figure out when you want to go. With Colorado, a lot of the hunts are 9 or 7 day hunts. And if like you have a work trip or, a wedding to go to, God forbid,
Yeah. Cut that friend loose.
so there's a lot of things you got to look at. But when I'm looking at it, for me, I'm thinking if I get a good tag, I will make my schedule work. So I'm looking at draw odds. I'm looking at what might be better than like the hardest hunt I can get from a draw basis. Like maybe there's a hunt that isn't as sweet. It takes less points, but it's 100% odds for me. Or maybe there's a cool area that takes no points, but it's wilderness. And so maybe there's going to be less people in there. So I'm thinking of all these different things as I'm building my strategy. And I might want to go on like a really hard wilderness elk hunt, but then I want to hunt maybe deer. I want that one to kind of be an easy gimme, and it's right around town. So then I'm looking close to my house. What can I hunt evenings after work or on the weekends so that I'm not gone for 3 months in the fall?
Right.
And so, yeah, there's strategies for different species, strategies around if I'm going to go out of state, what am I looking for there? And so again, it sounds like a lot of work, but to be successful in the draw, it takes this amount of work. It takes an understanding of what tags you can actually acquire and how you get them. And maybe you're building points for 3 or 4 years in Colorado, and you're looking at getting, easier hunts in New Mexico or Wyoming, or vice versa. Maybe you're building points in other states and you're just going to do OTC in Colorado for a couple of years. So there's always a way to get a tag. And it just might not be that like sweet Wyoming backcountry hunt until you have enough points. And so, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. But there's tools that help. There's tools that help with this. Honestly, Hunt and Fool and Hunt Research Tools are two of the best tools out there to help you like whittle this down in the first 30 minutes. And then you can start going and doing more research, trying to figure out, where there's biologist reports to read, or who can you talk to that's done this hunt before. Yeah.
Love that. So if I've never killed a mule deer. It's one of the things somehow it's escaped me. Now I live in a state where hunting mule deer is not as easy, right?
Totally.
So if I just want to be like, I want to go out west, I want to hunt mule deer. Off the top of your head, what's the easiest way to go about that?
Montana, Colorado, they both have decent mule deer hunts with no points. They're all draw. These days there's no over-the-counter mule deer hunts anymore. But there's 0 point hunts in Colorado. There's good mule deer hunts with 1 or 2 points, so you could save a point for 2 or 3 years. There's leftover tags, so that's another thing we haven't talked about yet. But all these states have a primary draw, and then a lot of them tend to have a secondary draw, which is usually returned tags or tags that people didn't pay for. Their credit card bounced, or for whatever reason they returned them. And then there's leftover tags after that it's like people that returned them after the secondary draw, or there was extra quota that didn't get taken in either of their draws. So like in Colorado, you can look at the leftover list on the CPW website, and those go on sale in August every year. And then every Wednesday they post any new leftover tags that have popped up. So again, people that are returning tags for whatever reason. And honestly, there's great tags to be found on there. Last year I found a 4-point antelope tag. And if you get them on the leftover list, they don't take any of your points. So I've got 9 or 10 antelope points. And so I didn't want to burn those on a tag in the draw, but I found a great 4-point limited draw antelope hunt on the leftover list and snagged that. And for deer, I mean, there's a lot of those opportunities out there. So there's ways, again, I just want to say it, there's ways to find tags, but what it takes is understanding these systems, understanding the primary and secondary draw, understanding how the leftover list works, understanding where there's opportunity, and having a plan to actually get your hands on a tag.
Man, that's awesome. Okay. I think you can actually go to the state of Washington and get an over-the-counter mule deer tag still. But
potentially, yeah.
It's,
Washington's tough. Washington's one of those states. We don't actually have it in our tool, in Hunt Research Tools. They are a state that has been historically pretty tough on hunters. They've gotten rid of some hunts lately, like spring black bear hunt. They have to pay for the tag up front, and a lot of times I think there's some cases where if you don't draw the tag, you don't get a refund. So that's really hard for non-residents to be putting,
that's a lot of money.
A lot of money into something that if you don't draw, you don't get a refund. So that's tough. But yeah, there's opportunities like that. I mean, there's a lot of over the counter and leftover opportunities that even if you're unsuccessful in the draw, don't give up. There's ways to come out west and do a hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So you said you're going wilderness style for your goat. Um, your plan of action so did you look for access for that, or you were like, okay, it's a goat hunt, wilderness. I guess probably all goat hunts are going to be in the wilderness, more or less, right?
Some are. I mean, some aren't not designated wilderness, but there's no roads up there. Some have high alpine roads that if you got a Jeep, you can get in there and drive around and glass. I like wilderness hunts. There's usually less people. It's hard to get in. It's a lot of work, but it tends to keep the applicant numbers down. Just, I mean, if you think about all the guys that you see out in the woods that have their big trailers and their ATVs and their side by sides, none of those guys can go into the wilderness with those vehicles. And so some of them obviously are capable and they can go in there on foot, but a lot of them say, nah, that's not for me. And it's not for everyone. Trust me, killing an elk last year at 19 miles from the truck is like it's an eye opener. It's tough.
Well, so my very first hunt where I killed an animal was a black bear 9 miles into the backcountry.
Yeah, that's too
And
far.
I was
That's too far for a black bear.
I was training for a marathon. I actually had a marathon scheduled on the books 2 months or a month and a half after that hunt. So I was in really good shape. My cardiovascular was
Yeah.
dialed in. I put that entire bear on my back and bone in with hide, and I carried that thing out 9 miles. It was the hardest thing, and
Oh,
still
man.
to this day, the hardest thing I've ever done.
That's like a David Goggins type of thing. I mean, when you start doing these hunts where you're 8, 10, 20 miles in, I mean, man, it's tough. I mean, it could be, if you're not healthy, it could be the end.
Very
A lot
true.
of people have heart attacks pulling animals out of the woods. So that's another thing to think about. Like part of your strategy is what kind of fitness am I in? Can I go and do this hunt? Like I'm like you. I ran marathons. I ran ultra marathons. I feel pretty fit. I was a mountaineer in my younger days, so like going on a goat hunt's kind of like exactly suited for me. Like I feel fit and I can get in, and I'm comfortable at 13,000 feet on rocky ridges. And there's probably a couple other hunters out there that I'll see that are comfortable like that, but I have a feeling there's others that aren't. And so I might have an advantage there. And so that's another thing I'm looking for in planning. Like now that I've got this hunt, like I was at the gym today, I'm going to be at the gym every day until this hunt because I want to do it and feel good and not get a goat because I couldn't make it to the top of the ridge in time.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question for you, which something that I personally want to know about, but I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this podcast. They're like, okay, awesome. Paul drew a tag. That doesn't mean he's going to go hunt or hunt solo. Or now are you talking about, hey guys, I need an army of support to help me achieve this tag. I drew it. Will you sacrifice time and come with me on the hunt? Do you have a strategy for that, or do you plan on hunting solo? I mean, I can only imagine goat and sheep hunts. There's some cliffs, there's some sketchy
Yeah.
areas that you might be getting into, and are you looking for support, and how are you going about recruiting that support?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the day I got the tag, I was like really pumped. I'm like, this is going to be this epic adventure. I'm going to do it solo. I'm going to be a tough guy. And then I watched a couple of YouTube videos about Colorado goat hunts. I don't do a ton of research into hunts that I don't have. Like, I don't know about a lot about goat hunting. I don't know a lot about sheep hunting because I've never had the tag. But I've had this tag now in my pocket for 3 weeks, and I know a lot about goat hunting already. And what I've learned is it's going to be intense. It's going to be steep. It's going to be at 13,000 feet. And so, yeah, I've already recruited a couple of guys to help me during July and August to go on some scouting, backpacking trips. But luckily, it's here in Colorado. It's not that far from my house. So we're going to do some backpacking trips and get eyes on goats and figure out where they're at. And then, yeah, I've got my business partner at Type 3 Life. He's kind of my adventure buddy. He already told me he's in. So,
Sweet.
yeah, I don't think I want to do this one on my own because there's a lot of risk. And if I get a goat down, it's September 3rd to October 3rd, it could still be hot up there. I want to get this thing out and take care of it. And so I don't want to be making multiple trips in and out if I don't have to. So yeah, I'm like, I talked to him, he's in. I've got another buddy who potentially could come help. I got some buddies on the call list that if I were to get one down, I could call them and they could hike in and help out. And I called the llama guy, and potentially I'll take 2 llamas in, and that would really solve a lot of problems because we could get a whole goat out in one, and all our gear and our camp in one trip with
Right.
2 llamas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's the planning starts. And I think, when your buddies get cool tags like this, like you want to go with them. And so this is my first time I've gotten a really rad tag like this. And I want to bring my buddies, and hopefully they'll reciprocate when they get these tags. I mean, that's how you go on these hunts. You don't always have to be the shooter. Like I want to go on a stone sheep hunt and a doll sheep hunt, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford those. But if a buddy goes and he needs someone to help pack gear around, I'm in.
Right.
I want to be there for the experience. And so open yourself up to go on hunts that you're not actually the hunter. There's no problem with that. I mean, you still get the experience. You still get part of it. I'm going to share meat with my buddies if they come and help. So yeah, I this is like, it's an interesting topic. It's like, how do you go on a hunt without even a tag? Well, go on a hunt with a buddy and just support him. So my buddy, Sean, he's my partner. Like I said, he's going to come, and it's going to be kick ass. I mean, the 2 of us will be up there in the high country looking for goats.
Yeah. And this is one of the things like people forget often, if you've never backpacked, that people just go backpacking for fun.
Right. People go backpacking for fun. People go and look for animals for fun. This is kind of a little hack. Maybe I shouldn't tell it, but I'll say it because it's probably not that. Like if you just think a little bit, if you want to know where animals are, go find the hiking Facebook groups. They take pictures of elk and deer and moose, and they tell you like, I was at Lake Agnes or whatever. Look at this amazing moose, and you're like, sweet, I have a tag, and Lake Agnes is in there, and like, so now I know there's a good moose. Like there's great intel that you can have just by like kind of lurking around Facebook and the internet. Yeah. So with goats for sure. People take pictures of goats. So all summer I'm going to be kind of chasing Facebook posts around people who found goats in the unit I'm in. And, goats are charismatic. So people are going to be posting pictures. Most people probably don't know you can even hunt goats. And so they'll be posting pictures, and that's a great little hack. I think every hunter should be doing.
I share this in my bear seminar that I give every year. That is how I do. I'm a big fan of working smarter, not harder. Right?
Yeah, totally.
If I don't have the time to scout, I'm going to use everyone else to scout for me, and I'm going to get their information. And one of the most beautiful things is, especially about hikers, and this is tying it into the bear hunt, is everyone in the fall is like, oh, are the berries ripe? Are the berries ripe? And the hikers, they're like, oh, I was picking huckleberries along the trail,
Yeah.
and it was a beautiful day. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, no, the berries aren't in yet. Or, I had to go a little higher to find the berries. And I'm like, haha, you dirty dogs. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And not only that, you can go back in history of dates. So you're like, okay, I'm hunting August 3rd through the 8th. All right, I'm going to filter all searches for August 3rd to the 8th. And what was it like year after year previously on those locations? And, dude, it's wonderful. Hikers, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, hikers. Yeah, I mean the bear thing is like super tricky, right? Like you don't even have to look for pictures of hikers taking pictures of bears. You can go to like the foraging groups, and they're going to tell you at what elevation the berries are in. And if you know where the berries are, that's where the bears are. So like you can backdoor your way into that. And again, this is like just having a plan, finding the strategy, finding data that helps you. Like there's nothing super secretive about this. But man, does it help to just like gather as much information as possible. And if that's on some foraging berry pickers Facebook group, why not?
Get used to typing the line. Long time lurker, first time poster.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do that. I was just on the turkey Facebook group recently asking for some tips. I've been turkey hunting for a long time, but they don't know that. I might be a beginner. Someone might say, oh, go here. I don't know. Most people don't, but you never know when someone's going to slip up and give you a sweet spot because they think that you need a little bit of help. So
I'm laughing because you said slip up. Like,
yeah.
Whoops. Dang it.
I mean, honestly, if someone comes and asks me and they want some help, I'm more than willing to help people figure out how to use OnX, figure out how to use these tools. I help all my buddies. So like it goes both ways. It's not like I'm just taking information.
Yeah.
I'm giving it too. But at the same time, there's a wealth of information out there that can go into your plan.
Yep. Oh man, I love that. Yeah, that is probably one of the most golden pieces of advice that any hunter can use. And don't forget that. And if you listen to this podcast, you're like, holy crap, I've never thought about that. Congratulations. You're welcome.
Yeah,
And
you're welcome.
yeah,
I'm constantly lurking for information all year round. It's not just the week before hunting season. It's in the spring. I'm looking for where people were seeing, fall animals, and like there's just always information out there that you can get. And it takes a year-round eye, I think, to really like feel confident that you know where you want to go. You're not just throwing a dart at the dartboard. That's not a strategy. Like just saying I want to go to this unit because it's within 50 miles of my house. That's not really a strategy. It might be convenient, but that's not a strategy to pick a great hunt that fits your needs. It's just close to your house.
mhm,
And so again, like think about those things of what your goals are. If your goal is to hunt after work and on the weekends, then yeah, you got to be close to the house. But if your goal is to go on maybe a little higher quality hunt, maybe you got to look 200 miles from your house and you got to drive somewhere, and maybe you got to pack in 5 miles. Um, you don't have to go 19. That's ridiculous. But maybe you got to go 5. And that gets you just far enough away from the truck hunters that only walk 1 or 2 miles in.
mhm.
And maybe they're pushing animals towards you. So, that's another thing we talked about today. I just actually did a master class for Onyx tonight on how to use the hunt research tools. So if you guys ever need that advice, go to Onyx's YouTube page and check out those videos. But we were talking a lot about hunting pressure and how everyone always wants hunting pressure to be low. And so we have a filter in there. You can look at just tags that have low hunting pressure, or you can sort from lowest to highest. But there's also a good opportunity and a reason to go hunt units that have high hunting pressure. If you're someone that wants to hunt within a mile of the road, or maybe you're not in the shape to go 5 miles in, or
Yep.
maybe you just aren't comfortable being that far in the woods, actually having hunting pressure helps a ton. Let other hunters get further in from you and they can push animals around, and animals are moving, and potentially you'll see something. And so it's not always a bad thing to have hunting pressure. And again, that's like a strategy. So that's one of the things you might want to think about. If maybe even if you're mobility impaired, like that could be a great hunt for someone who has to hunt from the road, is find a unit that has a ton of hunting pressure. That's going to be, the animals will be moving come opening day. So yeah, there's always a way to look at the data that's going to help you. And so find your strategy, find out what works for you, find what terrain you want to hunt in, where you want to hunt. It's all about the experience. And for me, like I want to be in the wilderness, I want to be high up in the mountains. But other people, like an antelope hunt out in the plains where you get to drive around and you do a lot of glassing, and maybe you want to take an 800-yard shot or something because you're a precision rifle guy. Like maybe that's the hunt you should be focused on, and not, going in after elk. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's just a million different ways to slice this pie.
I love that. Shifting gears here and going back to the turkey talk. You love turkey hunting, don't you?
Yeah, I love turkey hunting.
You shot two
Love it.
this year already.
Yep, I got my Nebraska bird done. And I had a limited tag in Colorado, which took 6 points. So I got that done, and now I've got my over the counter. So in Colorado, if you get a limited tag, you can also get an over the counter. So I've got 2 Colorado tags. I opted out of Wyoming this year. I just didn't think I had enough time. I've got some other stuff going on this spring, but I love turkey hunting. Everyone compares it. A lot of hunters compare it to elk hunting. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but what I do like about it in the same terms is you get to call them, you get to hear them, you can put plays on them based on them making noise. They can come to you. But the best part is like you're with buddies, you kill a turkey, you throw it over your shoulder, and you're like to the cafe by noon for lunch. Like it's not like as intense as like a 10-day wilderness elk hunt where you're in there and you're camping and you're surviving. This is like I'll go out in the morning, and if I don't hear anything, maybe I'm home by 10.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's 2 months. Like you don't have to try to shoot every turkey you see. Like you have 2 months in the spring, and then again 2 months in the fall. A lot of people don't turkey hunt in the fall. They think it's a waste of time. I love turkey hunting in the fall. It's a reason to be out in the woods. You're finding other animals. I tend to turkey hunt where I have deer tags.
Yep.
So I'm looking for deer for my deer hunt later in the fall. So like it's my scouting, but not just hiking.
Mhm.
Like it's scouting with a gun and a purpose. So
I
yeah,
call it cross training.
yeah, totally.
I use black bear hunting as a cross trainer for deer and elk and
Yeah,
other big game, because you're out there in times where those animals are not getting pressured, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, hey, mental note or drop a pin on Onyx. I saw a buck here, a bull here,
Totally.
bedding here, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm gonna start, adding pieces of this puzzle, and they'll have this beautiful picture come fall. You're like, okay, now I know where I'm going. You know, I
Yeah, that's turkey hunting, man. I mean, it's just a reason to be out in the woods, learning with seeing animals in their natural state. Yeah, it's fun. And these birds are crazy, man. If you haven't turkey hunted, give it a shot because they're fun. They make noise. They they're bonkers little birds. Sometimes they're super smart. Sometimes they're super dumb, and they're just fun to hunt. I mean, they make dumb mistakes. They're funny looking. Like it's just usually a pretty good time.
Man, that's awesome. Do you mind if I share a little story with you, Paul? I have not told you about this, but
Yeah, let's hear
I
it.
killed my very first spring turkey 2
Heck
weeks
yeah.
ago.
I saw that picture. That's
Dude,
awesome, man.
so here's a story how it all went down. I've been wanting to kill a turkey in the springtime. I've killed a tom in the fall. I've done the spot and stock and literally ran after them to the point where it used elevation to terrain and stay hidden, crest a hill, and they're right there. Bam, you know. But this was the first time where it's like, okay, I think I actually have a shot. So I'm sitting on the couch, and my house, we do Friday family movie night. So watching a movie, eating some popcorn with the kiddos and the wife, and all of a sudden, my cell phone goes off with my game camera. It's 8:10 at night, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, what do we got? Hogs, deer, what raccoons? What's happening? I look, and it is a hen and a tom in full strut at 8:10 p.m. at night, and I'm like, 8:10 at night. These birds should be roosted by now.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, dude, they got to be roosted real close at this point. And so I haven't turkey hunted at all this spring. I've wanted to, but it coincides with my wife's birthday and spring break, and just it's a busy time of year for me where I need to make sure I don't take a withdrawal out of the piggy bank until
Yeah.
the time really comes. So 8:10 at night, I'm like, I'm looking, I'm thinking, I'm calculating myself. I'm like, okay, I got boys. My boys are playing flag football right now. I'm the coach. I got to be home by 9 o'clock at the latest. My lease is 40 minutes from my house, door to door. And I'm like, okay, if I get there, turkey hunting's early because it's the roost and all that stuff. There's a good chance that I could locate the gobble. And if I play my cards right, I could be home in time with a dead bird. And then we're driving to a football game and I'm coaching my little kiddos that day.
Yeah, I love it.
So I'm like, all right, babe, listen, I am going to be getting up early. I'm going to go kill this turkey and I'll sleep on the couch because I don't want to wake you up. And I know you gotta get some rest. So get my gear all loaded up that night. I'm not that good of a turkey caller, and by that good, I mean I can yelp like you're, and that's about it. Do some clucks and maybe a little purrs, but so I'm walking in, and it turns out that it was a full moon that night, and so I'm walking in, no headlamp, full bright moon in the sky because stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas.
Gosh. Oh, these Texans, man.
So I'm walking in, and now I know exactly where the lay of my hunting lease is, right? So there's a creek bed where my game camera is and my feeder, and there's only so many areas that birds would roost. So I come in and I get to the area where I can put eyes upon my game camera. And I look up at the moon, and this bird is silhouetted in this tree like 50 yards from me. I'm like, no freaking way. This is, I mean, using technology, if it wasn't for a cell cam, I
Yeah,
actually wouldn't have gone on this hunt, which
totally.
this is something we should probably talk about after this story. But I'm like, dude, there's a bird. If I don't actually get an opportunity to shoot this bird, I mean, can see the bird. I could go shoot it right now illegally, but I'm like, there it is.
Yeah.
So I make a stupid decision, and I could have sat closer to the roost tree, but I'm like, oh, this is almost, I need to make sure I do this right. So I set my decoys out thinking that this bird was going to pitch down off the tree into this field in front of me because there's a creek on the backside. So the only way to pitch down is out towards me. I should have sat under the tree creek line where they were. But instead, I sat opposite. So I'm about 100 yards from these birds or this bird. And then daylight comes and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. Finally, this turkey pitches down and it instantly full strut. And I look, and as soon as the gobble started happening, hens started talking. I was like, oh, I'm not letting these hens, these dirty little skinks, steal my Tom. This is mine right now. And so I'm cutting off these hens like it's elk hunting, right? Like cutting that bugle off, like, no, this is my bird. It's time for me. No more than a little bit of play, and this Tom gets henned up
Oh
instantly.
yeah.
Two hens, but it turns out there's two Toms, and I see all four of them, and I'm just like sitting there, still as I can, calling, doing my best to just come over here. In Texas, I could have shot him with a rifle. It's ironic that if I would have brought a rifle, I could have shot both of them, but I have the shotgun. And so I'm like, dude, I sat in the wrong spot. If I would have sat on the creek side, I'd have two dead turkeys. I could have shot them both. Well, I was able to call them, and the hens start walking away. And I'm like, no. And they're starting to pull the Toms with them. But the Toms keep looking back at me, and they're like, oh, I hear you. Come to me. They're gobbling and strutting. Well, I was able to turn them just enough so that they started working like at a 45-degree angle over to me. And there was some brush and a fence line, and they got out of sight. And I was like, okay, it's now or never, because they're not coming to me. It's like they saw my decoys, or maybe they didn't see my decoys. But so I made a move. I got up, ended up shooting this turkey from behind as it was walking away, and just blasted it. And I was like, no way. And I recorded a video of myself once I walked up on it, and I'm like having a hard time breathing because the excitement, the adrenaline. I'm like, like it just got done running a race. I'm like, dude, that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. What a story, dude. Seeing someone get their first bird is pretty special. I got to be with two guys this year out in Nebraska, and they both got their first spring birds. One guy was his first turkey ever. And it's just awesome to see. It's such a fun hunt. It's so cool. They come down. If you would have sat by that creek, they would have gone the other way. It's just like, you never know. And every time they go the opposite direction, you're like, oh, if I would have been sitting over there, I would have got him. I mean, I did that on Sunday. I sat down and I saw this Tom go out in the field, and he was like 200 yards from me. And I had thought of sitting in this little ditch in the middle of the field, and he was walking the ditch line. I was like, oh, if I would have been sitting there. But sure enough, if I'd been sitting there, he would have been walking the tree line. And I was like 10 yards inside the trees. And so I watched him for like 3 hours. And then he bedded down 83 yards from me. And I was like, do I want to take this shot? And eventually at like 11:40 in the morning, a group of Jakes came through and pushed him towards me, and I got him. But like, it was like, I was set up at 5:30 in the morning. So it was like 6 hours of sitting there watching this Tom. And I was like, like 83 yards, and I couldn't move. It was just like an open field. I was like stuck. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just turkey hunting is so fun, man. More people should do it.
Yeah.
Or less people should do it. You guys shouldn't do it. I mean, if you want, like, that's another thing. Like, if you're really into going on a hunt, again, like, you've got elk and deer in the fall, but like, think about turkey and black bear in the spring. Like, there's ways, again, this is part of the plan. There's ways to get on hunts. And it doesn't always have to be, mid-September archery elk hunt in the West. There's other opportunities. And
yeah,
turkey fills that for me in the spring. I mean, duck and goose ends in like February and March here, and then in April, turkey opens up. So there's not a lot of time off from other birds. You can kind of hunt year round, and that to me is like just more excuses to be out in the woods.
ain't that the truth? Okay, let's talk about this. And I, who knows? Maybe I'll get some shade for this, but Idaho spring bear, add a wolf tag onto it. You're under you're about $450 for bear and wolf tag and a hunting license, and a 3-day fishing license.
Yeah.
And, if you're driving there or flying there or whatever, you can go on a hunt for about $1,000.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's doable.
Yeah, that's a great spring hunt.
And you can make it as long as you need or as short as you need,
Totally.
And your bear tag and wolf tag is good for the fall and is good for, that wolf tag is good all the way for almost the whole year, it seems like. So,
Yeah, so I mean that's a strategy. It's like you can get this thing, and if you don't get it done in the spring, you can go back in the fall. There's over-the-counter tags in Wyoming or in Idaho for deer, and I believe elk. They're hard to get. There's like a mass run on them. I think
yep,
it's December 1st or December 5th. But they're there. So like if you knew you had that tag, you could potentially try to throw a deer tag on with it. So yeah, man. I mean, it just takes knowing this stuff. And most hunters, or especially beginner hunters or hunters new to wanting to go out west, they don't know the landscape of all these nuances and all these regs for each different state, each different species. And it takes a lifetime to learn it all.
mm-hmm.
Like even though I'm what I would call like an alpha hunter here in Colorado, like I know a lot about all the stuff in Colorado. When I go to Wyoming or Montana, like I'm a beginner hunter again.
Yep.
Like I have to relearn all this stuff. It's a totally different system. And so when you find these little gems, like, an Idaho spring bear tag that's also good in the fall, like that's a nuance that is a plan. That's a strategy. It gets you out in the woods twice.
Yep.
So yeah, it's awesome. I mean, maybe throw on a spring turkey tag, maybe a fall turkey tag. Like now you got like some real hunts to go on.
Well, that was one of the questions I had for you is, can you just get over the counter out of state turkey tags in different places, and are those expensive? Like I can only imagine.
Colorado's got over-the-counter turkey tags in spring and fall. In the fall, you can shoot them with a rifle. You can shoot hens or toms. So like it's just a fun hunt. Nebraska's got over-the-counter. You can get 2 of them as a non-resident. 2 turkey tags. This year they sold out 10,000 of them in like 4 days. So you got to be on it. But it's not like if you go opening day, like you can grab one. So yeah, I mean, there's tags. There's things to do.
That's cool. Yeah, it's just like so I have a campsite that I really want to reserve for family camping, like taking a travel trailer and parking it at a lake in a state park. I have it on my calendar for the day when reservations open in order to get that campsite for Memorial Weekend next year. Because I'm like, I want the best site. And so I'm having a strategy and a plan for when that application opens.
Yeah, if you want campsites out west or river permits, like it's all through rec.gov. And yeah, you got like some come up 6 weeks in advance, some come up 6 months in advance. And you have to know what state parks, what states, and what the time frame is. And it's the same with hunting. Like you got to know when tags go on sale, especially over the counter stuff, because they sell out. You got to know when draw deadlines are. Obviously, if you miss a draw deadline, like you're not hunting and you're probably not getting a point either, unless it's a state that you can buy a point later. But like Colorado, you can't. You can only get a point if you put in for the draw. And so if you miss the draw deadline April 1st this year, you're SOL.
Yeah.
And so again, it's just, and I've probably beaten the dead horse here, but have a strategy, have a plan. We have a great tool for that. We partner with Hunt Reminder. So if you're an Onyx Elite member, you get Hunt Reminder for free. And that covers all 50 states and basically every huntable species that has some sort of draw. And you can put in what species and state you're interested in. And it sends you an email and a text message the week before the draw deadline and then the day before the draw deadline. And so like you won't miss the draw. That's crucial. A lot of my buddies miss the draw every year. And it's just like constantly like, well, I guess you're going to hope for one on the leftover list. Good luck. Colorado is a little bit different because if you miss a draw, you can still get an over-the-counter elk tag, bull elk tag, which is good in half the units in the state. So you can still go on a hunt. But most states don't have that option.
Does Onyx support the New Mexico scimitar oryx hunts that they do? Is in the draw odds?
Yeah, we've got oryx in the draw odds. That hunt would be awesome. I can look at this right now. So if I look at oryx, I've got the tool open. Let's see, highest draw odds. There's some tags that are 10% as the non-resident with no points. I'm not super familiar with that. New Mexico doesn't have any points. And so It's just a random draw, but there's ones that are 10, 8, 7, 7, 6. Like they're decent odds. 10% sounds low, but like that's not that bad. Especially when you compare it to like sheep odds at like 0.2.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So like you could get that Oryx tag if you put in for it for a couple of years. You have pretty good odds.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's
that
good.
would be awesome.
That's good to know. That's something that you and I should team up for and go
Yeah,
to. There's a lot of hunts you and I need to
I'm
team up
into
for.
it for sure. One of the guys here at Onyx that he got a New Mexico Barbary sheep, which is like what do they call them? An aoudad.
Uh-huh.
They call them in Texas. But so he got that tag this year. So again, put in for tags and you might get them.
Dude, that's awesome. Okay, I want to shift gears and talk about something that has ruffled feathers. It seems like within social media world and hunting and all this is. I just got done telling a story about cell cams, and the success of that cell cam
Yeah,
ended up leading to the success of my harvest. And
totally.
that first experience of like it only happened because I got notified that that bird was there.
Yeah.
Um, and this is not reflecting to Onyx, by the way. This is Paul and Johnny having a conversation. What's your take on all this and uh, technology and hunting? Because a lot of people will say it's not fair chase or all of that.
Still not easy to kill a turkey or an elk, even if you know where it is based on your cell cam. Like, I think that argument that it's not fair chase is a little bogus. It's a tool, and if you have them and you have the money to spend on them and have the service plan, it's an advantage. And if you can have an advantage, you should have an advantage. Now, a lot of states are outlawing them during hunting season or 2 weeks before hunting season. So, although you could have them up, in the summer, they may not be as helpful as they have been in the past. Now, that's on public land. There's some nuance to private land. I think, if you have access to them, you should try to use them. I have one. I don't really have a lot of places to put it because I'm a public land hunter. I don't want someone stealing it. I've got my little 40-acre plot that it'll go on just to see what's out there. But I mean, Onyx has a trail cam a cell cam integration now. So like all your images can be automatically brought into your Onyx account. And we actually have some really cool analytics that go along with that. So it'll kind of tell you when it's seen animals. There's some animal recognition software that tells you if it's a deer or something else. And you can see like when are animals typically showing up, what was the weather like, what was the time of day, what was the moon phase. And so there is some awesome like analytics coming along with that. Really cool tool, especially for the whitetail hunter who's like trying to pattern deer on their 40 acres to figure out, should I go out on Saturday or is the wind wrong or the pressure all off? Like, so I think it's a tool that if you got access to it, you should use it. I don't think it's the cure all or the panacea. Like I think a lot of states are going to outlaw them. I think they're going to get harder and harder. It's kind of like drones. Like drones have already been outlawed from like day one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, until then, like, got the advantage, take it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, like, it's the same. It is the same but different concept of like a laser rangefinder,
Totally.
right?
Rangefinder is a tool. Scopes are a tool. I mean, if you start going down the path of like, this is unfair chase, where do you end? Like, is a rifle unfair chase? Is a rifle with a 18x scope on it unfair chase? Is custom dials on your turrets unfair chase? What about a compound bow? What about a compound bow with an adjustable sight? So should we all be shooting traditional bows and we have to make the arrows ourselves? I mean, like at what point do any of these technologies get cut off? And so like, I think again, like I'm a rifle hunter. I've archery hunted in the past. It's not as effective as a rifle. A rifle's a cheat code compared to a bow and arrow, but so is a cell cam. And maybe, having a drone is taking it a step too far. So we've litigated that out. It's against the regs, but cell cams are still there. And I think one of the most powerful things with cell cams is not necessarily it's telling you that there's an animal there, go harvest it, but it's letting you see what the patterns are. It's letting you learn more about the wildlife on your property.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all about education. And I think that there's some power in that. Plus, it's really cool when you get an alert and like you see a killer buck or a tom,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is awesome. Like he's out there.
Yep.
And I might have a chance at this now. So you get excited about your hunt, you make a plan, you go out early in the morning, you slept on the couch. I mean, all of this is, I think, an awesome benefit of this technology. Now, personally, I think that they're probably going to be outlawed at some point. I don't know when that happens, and I don't know how it happens. Is it just public land? Maybe. Most of the hunters in the U.S. hunt on private land, so maybe there won't be an issue there. Most of the hunters are east of the Rockies and hunt on private, and so maybe the public land hunter in the West doesn't really have a use case for them. But that's like 20% of the hunters in the country. 80% of the hunters hunt on private land in the East, and so they want to keep tabs on what animals are in their properties, and they're targeting mature bucks to pull out of the population, which is the right animals to be harvesting to keep your populations up and healthy. So, like in the end, I think I don't have any problem with them, and I think it's awesome that you saw one on there the night before and knew that he had to be roosted somewhere close by, and you went and you harvested that bird and you're feeding your family with it. So,
yeah.
It's awesome, dude. I love it.
It was so cool. Such a cool experience. Because and this is one of the things where us as hunters need to be ambassadors for what we do. So I brought this bird home. I have a fridge in my garage. I just put the whole bird in the fridge. Like my wife, she's awesome. I have a whole dead beaver in my freezer in my garage. Like I was found at roadkill. Yeah, I saw a fresh kill driving down the road. I was like, no way, a freaking beaver? Heck yeah. Number one bobcat bait. Bobcats love beaver meat. But I was like, dude, a beaver pelt that's not damaged?
Yeah,
yes.
That's awesome.
Like,
heck yeah.
So I have a whole dead freezer. I got deer legs because I'm going to make a gun mount with the hooves of a deer, all sorts of stuff. So I get home, on time, enough time for me and my wife to have a cup of coffee and enjoy our morning after having that hunt. Put the turkey in the freezer or the fridge. We go, I coach football. We make a Costco trip. We come home. We're having friends over later that day. Friends come over and they have little kids. I have 3 young boys. And here I am breaking down this turkey in front of people who, are pro hunting, but not necessarily are used to seeing where their food comes from. Right.
Okay.
And so they're little kids. One was a boy, one was a girl. They come on over. They're like, what is this? And I'm taking them through an anatomy lesson. I'm cutting it open. I'm showing them the gizzard, showing them the heart, like touch this, feel this. And it was absolutely phenomenal. So that cell cam ended up leading to a lot of curiosity and education to further advance hunting as well. And I think that's one of the things that's missed.
I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome. I do the same thing. Any animal I get, I come and break it down in my garage with the door open. I have a table that I set out at the mouth of the garage, and people walk by. And I think my neighbors must think I'm crazy because I'm always out there at a turkey this weekend. I got ducks and geese all the time. I'll bring a deer home, an elk, but they always stop by and ask what's going on. And I'm willing to share some meat with them. And I live in a college town. It's a pretty liberal place. So this is a little weird that people see me in town doing this. But my neighbors, like, they're always so interested. There's little kids running around. And honestly, like this weekend, I had this turkey and I was pulling it apart and I opened up the crop to see what it was eating. And the little neighbor kids thought it was so cool. And of course, the adults kind of keep their distance. Like, who's this crazy guy? But I think that's awesome, man. Share that with the community. Let them see that this is how your food gets harvested. Let them see that it's not a bad thing. And that's awesome that cell cam led to kids in the neighborhood learning about the anatomy of a turkey and that you can actually go out into the woods and bring home meat for your family. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty powerful story.
Yeah. And a lot of things, and this is us as hunters. If we don't reflect on this, we won't be able to put those two together. Right. Yeah. Like we have to reflect on the chain of events that led to that moment and then realize that everything that we do has a ripple effect and it goes beyond us.
I think us as hunters, it's important that we share this tradition with other people that are non-hunters. I've gotten maybe a dozen people into hunting as an adult and gotten them on their first animals, helped them harvest. I mean, we have to share this so people understand it. we've got to be vocal. A bunch of us just last Friday went down to the Capitol building in Denver for a sportsman's rally where, we were advocating for public lands to stay public. Dan Gates was there, who was a big advocate. Our state senators spoke. Like, it's just important that people see hunting as a tradition and a healthy way to spend time in the woods with family and with friends, healthy way to get food, and that it isn't this like blood crazed gun nut. Like, we're not out there just being crazies. Like, I think that it's really awesome that you shared that with the people around you. And that's the only way we keep hunting as a thing that is actually allowed in this country, is to share it with people that don't totally understand it.
Yeah. You got to have an emotional connection with somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and when you have that food too, share your food. Man, I share so much meat with people. I don't have kids. It's me and my wife. So, getting an elk. Last year I got an elk, a deer, an antelope. Like, I got bear in the freezer. I got goose. I've got all sorts of stuff in the freezer. We're sharing that all the time with people. And it's a fun story to go to a barbecue and tell people like the story of the harvest and make something awesome. We make schnitzel with our turkey. We make turkey tacos with the legs. And I make this awesome cilantro jalapeno slaw. And like, I share that with people and they're just blown away how good this food is. And then they get to hear the story about the harvest, whether they like it or not. And usually it's like, that's so cool. And I've got buddies who have never thought of hunting. They're like, man, I really want to come with you sometime and watch. And I'm like, well, you can't come with me and watch. You have to get a hunting license, go get your hunter safety, become a hunter, and come with me. See how it's really done. And they've done it. Like, the people I've challenged to do that have done it. They've gotten their licenses. They've learned how to hunt. They bought firearms. And not to say that they're going to hunt the rest of their life, but now they know where that food comes from. And that's a pretty awesome story.
Yep. There's a skin in the game.
Totally.
That's a big part of it, especially when it comes to the ballot box biology and initiatives and all this.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden they have skin in the game and they're like, whoa, this actually impacts me, whether or not I choose to hunt or not the rest of my life. I've gone through the process and I understand it. And also, Paul is a good guy, and I like Paul, and I don't want to take this away from Paul. So even if I'm not,
you humanize it. Humanize it in front of these people, and you're not just the dude with the mullet with the big truck that makes a lot of noise. Like, you're the neighbor who showed their kids about a turkey and brought over, some fresh elk meat to throw on their grill. Like, you humanize it, and it becomes this thing that's acceptable. The people that never have even thought about hunting or always vote against it because they think it's cruel. Like, it's not cruel compared to the way we raise farm raised meat and harvest that kind of meat. So this is like a whole political conversation now, but I think the main takeaway is like, share this experience with people.
Yeah, 100%. And hunting is political. So just like everyone get used to that, especially if you want it to last.
Yeah. That's why I like going into my wilderness area, so I don't have to see anyone out there when I'm hunting, because it's just like, it's for me, and then you get back to the front country and there's the politics around it, and it's a bummer, but that's life. I mean, everything is political anymore.
Yep.
And anything that you enjoy doing is probably on someone's radar, whether it's driving motorcycles or dirt bikes or hiking big mountains and whatever. Someone's probably anti. So you just got to show them that it's not a bad thing. So if that's what cell cams can do, then all the power to them.
There you go. I love it. All right, brother. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, your stories, your passion for hunting, all that. What adventures do you have coming up for this fall besides a goat hunt?
Yeah, I got goat hunt, type 3 life. We're going kayaking up in the Pacific Northwest. I've got an elk hunt that we're taking the llamas in, doing that with another guy from Onyx, which is going to be great. I haven't gotten my tags yet, but I'm hoping for a deer and an antelope hunt. And there's always late season deer hunts in Colorado that you can pick up on the leftover list. And then, in September, bird season starts as well. So like turkeys, teal, that all starts in September, and then ducks start in October, and geese start in late October. So there's lots on the list. Luckily, my piggy bank is pretty full with my wife, so I can take a lot of time and go do this kind of stuff. And I live in a place too where I can go duck hunting in the morning and be back to the office by 8 a.m. So I can get out midweek and don't have to make big trips out of it. And so I'm pretty blessed and pretty lucky to live where I am and have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's full. I'm excited, and I don't know. Maybe you and I are going to get something on the calendar. Maybe a pig hunt. It looked like I saw a picture today from you for about some pigs on your cam. So
Uh-huh.
I'm open to other ideas.
Well, one of the things is, and we'll have to talk about this off air, but pig hunts is a phenomenal way to keep the itch scratched,
Yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure.
keep hunting, just keep going for it. You know.
Yeah, totally. I'm all about it, man. It sounds like a blast. That's one hunt I actually haven't done yet. So I'd love to at some point come check out what the pig thing's all about.
Heck yeah, love it. All right, guys, go to onyxmaps.com and get yourself a membership. If you're not a member of Onyx, you get a 2-week free trial. Check it out. You're going to want to use it. It is the ultimate game changer for hunting. And even if you're not a hunter, tell people about it. They have Onyx Backcountry. They have Onyx Fishing now, Onyx Trails.
Yep.
There's all sorts of different things going on with them. And for people who are in business, I know a lot of people in real estate use Onyx. A lot of people who do sales for roofs or windows or doors, they use Onyx for their personal business use beyond just the hunting application of it. So go join onyxmaps.com/hunt. Sign up, be an elite member. That gives you the most perks and the most benefits. Paul, thank you, brother. You're a stud. Always a great time.
Yeah, it was awesome seeing you. Thanks for having me on.
I love it. Guys, be blessed. Remember, hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure, and that you can never outgive good, as mentorship is conservation. For Paul Ronto at Onyx and Johnny Mack here at Soul Seekers, be blessed, freedom on, and as always, stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating, as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.